Hey, Brett.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Good. Thanks. Yeah. So I know Emil had a conflict today, so he won't be able to join. And let's see, I think Ben might be joining, and I don't know who else. Let's wait a couple of minutes. Hey, man.
Yo, yo.
So we're just saying that Emil has a conflict today, so he won't be able to join. Maybe we can wait another minute, see if someone else joins, and then we can start. Okay, it's 3 past, so I guess we should start. Welcome everyone to the CDEvents working group. Today is May the 13th. My name is Andrea Frito. I work for IBM. So I put a couple of things on the agenda for today. Mainly I was planning on discussing the preparation for release, the next batch release, upcoming release. So we have a few things that we need to fix on top of 04 that we recently released. So we're going to make it 041. Yeah, that's pretty much what I had planned, but if there are more things you would like to discuss, please add them to the agenda. Um, yeah. Sorry, man, you wanted to say something?
I did, but I don't know if it'd be useful for CDEvents, but it's probably something that might be of interest to some of us at least. So I've been talking with Cloud Events. I talked to them last week about implementing some sort of way to handle like zero trust, like trusting of events. And at first I wasn't sure if their Sigma meeting was appropriate because I didn't like after looking at it, I saw that was a conglomerate of multiple SIGs into one. So I didn't want to take up because when you're talking about like security and like zero trust and whatnot, like I was worried that was going to take like the whole their whole sig. I didn't want to just like jump in as a new person and do that. So I pinged one of the maintainers And he was like, yeah, he told me just to like hop in. So so that's this Thursday at, I think it's at 11. So if anyone is interested in joining that as well, I just wanted to shout that out. But that's something that I'm going to look to start at least, because that's going to be like the biggest thing for us, like at Apple, to use CD events is being able to trust events. So yeah, so that's kind of like something that's kind of like on our plate at least.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, Ben. So that's Thursday.
Yeah, it's under the serverless SIG.
Serverless SIG, right? Let me see. So serverless 16th of May, right?
I think it was
Working
11. Yeah, 11 p.m. or a.m. Sorry.
Right. And let's see if I can copy. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I'll figure out how to copy a link. The time zone. Okay.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted, because like obviously anything that we do with like security or trust on cloud events is going to probably, it's going to bubble up to us at some point. So definitely would be, once I maybe start getting, like I plan on first getting their input and then seeing what kind of comes out of it, and then if a proposal needs to be written but for by me, or by, it's probably not going to be by me directly, but some security folks at Apple is probably what's going to look like, or at least not just one person, it's going to be multiple people. I just want to make sure that the use cases that is covered covers CD events as well as cloud events. Just make sure it handles everyone's necessary use cases.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah, absolutely. So I think there was some issue. I think I might have sent the link.
Yeah. There was a PR. There was also an issue. There was also a PR. The PR was to do with JWT tokens, which sounds like a good solution at first, but when you look at the all the protocols that Cloud Events supports, JWT requires support for JSON. And so since some of their protocols aren't JSON, that became not accepted. So, but yeah, I can also find that PR as well.
Found an issue at least. So I guess the initial issue was not technology specific, and then there was some uptime too.
Yeah, same one. Yeah.
Right. Cool. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. So I mean, we discussed this on CDEvent sites, as you know, and I mean, at least at this stage, it would be great to have this handled at a level on top of, so actually, yeah, before CDEvents on the transport layer, so like cloud events. So I think that would be ideal for us.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it makes most sense there, to be honest. Like I kind of look at like cloud events as like an HTTP like kind of layer, and like you want authentication at that layer, not like, well, actually that's not 100% true, but the fact that HPAT had or HPT or HTTP has HTTPS, you know, I kind of look at that S portion as something that cloud events could implement. So yeah, let's see what happens with it though.
Yeah, exactly. I think there is the encryption layer, and that's one thing. I guess the other thing is the being able to verify that certain content has not been compromised. So that it's actually written by the system that wrote it, and that's where the signature part comes in. Okay, so cool. Right. Oh, welcome, Liara. Thanks for joining us. Let me share.
Thank you. Sorry, I was looking for the mute button. Apologies. I just wanted to hear what this SIG is all about and see if there is something that I can help with. But at the moment, I'm as a reader, like as a, let's say, trying to see what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for joining. And yeah. All right. So yeah, thanks, Ben, for the cloud events and trust part. So then moving on to the 041 preparation. So we had some chat last week with Ben, because there have been a few issues identified within the 0.4 release that we made. So we want to prepare for 041 and want for that release to happen in a timely manner. So just open the milestone. I think there are a few things here. So we have reported by Jalander, links not added for new test cases and ticket events in 0.4. So this was partly by design. So it was by design. We said we were not going to have those in. But after doing some work, testing, validation of schemas and so forth, it looks like it makes sense to have the links in. The tricky bit is to have meaningful example with links. It's not easy. So what we were discussing about this with Ben last week is that the current example folders, we'll move it to something like validation or conformance folder. So that we make it clear that those are YAMLs that we use for validation purposes that provide some value for all available fields, but they're not necessarily relevant examples. And then over time, we'll build a suite of examples that are more like use case specific, where you can see, we can show, for instance, if you want to do a certain amount of CI and then CD, what kind of events would be passing around with meaningful values, including for links. So if you have an SCM link, SCM event, and then we have a build event, which is linked to the SCM and so forth and so forth. So that's the first issue. Then we had some technical issue with the format of the link to the links schema. So that's need to be fixed. And then also some format, some problem, the property field missing in the links schema themselves. And then one thing that we wanted to implement also to make sure we are catching this kind of issues is to introduce validation. And so validation for JSON schemas can validate only as much. I mean, it can get to a certain level of validation, but the more values we have on the example side, the better validation we can do. And so that connects back to the first issue. Also links were missing in the custom schema. And we want to add JSON linting as well here. And this is the renaming that I mentioned. And I think I'm missing one of the issues here, which is about the camel case. And so the plan that we put together is to basically add the JSON schema validation with some of the fixes required for the validation to pass. And there is a PR up for these. Also, we want to change the snake casing to match the requirement for the schemas. And along with that, then we need to have the JSON linting. And then, oh, I guess there is one missing here, which is adding the, adding links to the custom schema. And then we would bump the spec version to 0.41 and make a release. So all these PRs would happen both on main, if it makes sense. So that would be also part of the 0.5 development, but they would also then be cherry picked on top of the 0.4 branch. So we have them in there, then we can make a release. Any comments?
I just have the one. I read your comment this morning, but I've been a little busy, so I didn't read the full comment. I think it was to you and Emil, or maybe it was just to me. It was about, because I added dash draft on the 0.4 PR, but he said that that wasn't needed. So were you saying, so I made that a separate commit, so I can remove that commit, but are you saying not to change it to 0.4.1 and keep it as 0.4.0 in that cherry picked PR? Or should I version bump it to 0.1? 0.4.1.
Yeah, so I was saying to basically keep it on 0.4.0.
Okay,
there.
just keep it there. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So usually for the patch releases, what we did in the past was every PR would just bump directly without the draft on the patch version. But because we have so many PRs, then we would be doing 0.41, 0.42, 0.43, and we know we want to have this set of changes already. So I was thinking we could just keep 0.40 in all the PRs, and then at the end, just do a 0.41.
Do blanket. Yeah. Makes sense.
And that kind of aligns with what you were proposing as a feature mechanism for minor or major releases as well.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, we can already start doing this for the patch release this time. Sorry, just give me a second. 10 seconds, I'll be right back.
All right, no worries.
Okay, I'm here. Sorry. Right. The other thing about version that we discussed and that we wanted to get some confirmation about was that normally whenever we change schemas, we would bump the version of the event. And here there are a number of things that we are changing in the link related schemas. But we were basically proposing not to bump versions because we just already bumped all the event versions in 0.4. And we just made the release. And as they are, links are not really usable in this with 0.4. So we were thinking it probably would be safe to do this 0.1 without bumping all the event versions again. Sorry, I was running up and down the stairs.
Yeah, no worries.
need to do more exercise. Yeah. Anyway, we're hoping to discuss this with Emil today, but he couldn't make it, so I also pinged him on this topic, and I put a comment on my release. On my PR as well. I think about this. Yes, about event versions and why we think we shouldn't bump them for this. Also, we have a number of PRs that we want to do one after the other, and we were hoping to finish this by Wednesday this week, maybe. Anyways, at least by the end of the week, worst case, I guess. And if we start having too many version changes in events and specs, then it becomes complicated with rebases and merge conflicts and so forth. So it's probably best to keep it simple. Right. And in terms of SDKs, the idea would be to wait until 041, also because I think on the Java side, on the Go side, on the Rust side, David, Jalanda, myself went on and tried to generate the SDKs, and we started running into issues, and that's also how we discover some of these issues that we're fixing in 0.1. So we will wait then for the 041 release and then resume the SDK work. And I think for this initial version of the SDKs, 04 SDKs, at least we would not support the standalone links yet, only the links embedded in events. I don't know, Ben, if you have any other comments on the 04 SDKs.
No, not really. I think you covered pretty much everything. But yeah, hopefully going forward, with all these fixes, especially with all the linting that we've added, at least this won't be a repeat problem, which is we love to see, right? So thank you, Andre, especially for doing the JSON schema validation. That I think is going to go a long way in the future, especially with more complicated proposals that come in where they need to update, add new schemas, update multiple schemas. You know, that'll be huge help.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, we are learning as we go, and so making things better. Oh, and maybe something that is worth mentioning as well. We had a chat with Ben as well about, you know, the process of adding changes to the specification, adding new features, and all this extra validation that we're implementing will help. But there is still some complexity and contributing, which is related to the way versions are managed. And we do so to, you know, minimize the kind of minimize the amount of version churn. So we start kind of a new version in the beginning of our release cycle, and then at the end we close it, and in between we have this dash draft. But yeah, it would be ideal if we could somehow let contributors define if their changes are backward compatible or if they do anything breaking, and apart from that, have the automation taking care of all the versionings automatically. So that's something that I believe Ben, you created some issues about this, and
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully we will cover this, and when we have.
Yeah, when I need to iron out a few more details. It might be a good idea to like submit this as like a not like a major proposal, but like kind of like a smaller proposal on like how releasing should be done. Mostly because as I was writing the issue, I was like, okay, there's certain edge cases that we probably want to handle. And so I realized it's not ever like simple, right? So like there's always like these weird edge cases. So I just want to make sure that I thought about all the edge cases and, you know, the proposed answers or solutions to this to to these edge cases makes sense. So or maybe we can just like have a SIG meeting that kind of like goes over that issues, and everything that's like outlined in that issue is covered appropriately. That's another way of doing it, because yeah, like I said, I don't know if we need necessarily a proposal for this, but it is a lot. It's a little bit more complicated than I originally had thought, like as I was writing it. Because originally, like I was thinking about wanting to do it, like if we could somehow use GitHub's, like, because GitHub has two great things, right? Like it has the PRs, which you can get metadata from. So I was like, oh, maybe we can use like labels or whatnot that would help dictate what was a patch versus like a major or minor release. But then I was like, oh, but what if there's multiple things that are being updated, right? It might not be that simple or that clear, right? Even though that's probably a bad practice if you're doing a major update, a major version update in one PR and a minor version update. But I could definitely see maybe there is something that I'm not thinking about. So I don't want to have that as like as a rule of thumb, unless we're okay with that. But another thing that I was thinking about is I know GitHub also supports a metadata. Like you can add metadata, I think, to commits and whatnot. So we might be able to do that as well as we merge things in. So like I said, I'll need to look into it more and think about it some. But that's kind of like the questions that I was kind of like getting hung up on, is like, what if people are doing multiple version updates of different kinds in a single PR, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that could be tricky. But I guess, yeah, I mean, like you said, there are different ways we could add metadata.
Yeah.
It could be multiple labels. It could be something other kind of way. I guess that's what's important is probably that we do it in a way that is kind of straightforward for contributors, so that we don't make things easier on one side just to make them more complicated on the other side, if it makes sense. So I guess it should be clear how to add this metadata. It should not be something too complicated. All right. That's good. Okay. So the only other thing, this was already in the meeting last week. I just wanted to remind folks that the CD Mini Summit CFP is open. So this is a co-located event. It's half a day co-located event. It's co-located with the Open Source Summit EU in Vienna. So it's going to be half a day of talks, the CD space. So if you have something you'd like to present, please make a submission there. Just as a note, acceptance as a speaker to the mini summit, of course, grants a ticket for the mini summit itself, but does not implicitly give speakers access to the Open Source Summit conference. So that's a separate event. It's built separately. Okay. Yeah, I guess that takes us to the end of the agenda. Anything else from the folks in the meeting that would like to bring up? Otherwise, we can go. We can close earlier today.
Yeah, I don't really have anything other than the cloud events.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Ben.
Yeah, no worries.
So And yeah, I guess for the 041, let's wait for a confirmation from Emil on the version, and then we can hopefully move on and start merging the PRs. Cool. All right. Good to see everyone. Thanks for joining today. Bye.
All right. Bye, everyone.
See you guys.
Thank you. Bye.